Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is episode 3 of our WoodMizer Repower series, where we're taking our old WoodMizer LT10 that we've had for about 10 years. It had a tired old 10 horsepower Briggs & Stratton on it. We took it off and putting a 13 horsepower Predator on it. If you hadn't seen the first 2 episodes, you ought to go back and check those out. This episode, we are hopefully going to get everything welded up, paint touched up, and my goal is to have the engine running, blade moving, head moving up and down, and carriage moving back and forth by the battery. So that's the goal by the end of this episode. We'll see how it goes. Let's get with it. I've had a couple people ask me about the cutting and some of the custom parts that I've had made at work. Some of you may or may not know this, but I don't farm full-time. I work a day job. I work at a metal fab shop. And so there have been a couple of pieces on here that I've had my friends at work to laser cut for me. I just drew them out on CAD and they cut them for me. That's the reason why there's not been any of that on the video. The man that owns the company that I work for probably wouldn't appreciate me videoing instead of working. And believe it or not, it actually takes a lot of time to move cameras around and video and make these videos while I'm doing things. I want the corners of this battery tray welded up, but I don't want to close them up completely. I'd like to leave a little bit of a weep hole in the corners so that the water can run out if it ever gets water in it. That'll work. Well, I'm not really wild about sticking my battery box off the front of the sawmill like this. I planned on it being turned the other direction, but if I didn't turn it this way, my hold down brackets from my battery are going to potentially interfere with the winch cable. So it's going to have to go out here. I don't see any reason why that won't work. Just ran out of wire. Well, I got all this hooked up and battery sitting in the battery box. I was getting a little bit nervous after I started welding this winch on when I realized how close this cable is going to travel to the battery, and I got to looking at that spool and I was like, ooh, this ain't gonna be good, but I think it's gonna be okay. I got all this hooked up, and obviously not going to use the hand control. That'll be wired into the box with the pulse width modulator to control the speed of it, but I think that's going to work out just fine. Alright, I think I have finally got everything welded and everything is semi-cooled down. So I'm going to grind everything up, slick all the corners down, and I'll be ready to paint the last of the stuff that needs to be painted, I hope. I knew when I made this chain guard that it was going to have to be modified, but there wasn't a good way to make it by a cardboard template, so I just made it, and then now that I've got everything bolted up, I'm going to cut out and modify it so that it will allow clearance for the saw head. Well, that turned out pretty nice. I had to cut quite a bit out of it for the saw head to go all the way down, but it still covers up the sprockets and the chain, which is what I was worried about. Alright, paint's dry on everything. Let's bolt this sucker together. That worked out well. I didn't really see a need in putting a grease fitting where this idler pulley mounts, but I am going to put some good anti-seize in there just to kind of slick it up. It's not something that's going to be in constant movement and see a lot of wear. I just don't want it getting tight on me. Alright, paint's dry and some of it's chipped off now. Ready to put all the modifications on this motor and get it stuck on here. I just hope after I bolt everything extra on it that I can still pick it up. I scraped off the old exhaust manifold gasket, muffler gasket, off the muffler that came on this thing. Hopefully it won't leak. It does have a hard metal ring right around the port. I think that will work. I've considered whether I need a brace on this new muffler. The only thing that I'm slightly concerned about is it vibrating, and that will have to be determined after the motor is running. But as far as weight, I almost think this Harbor Freight or Predator muffler weighs more than this tractor muffler. So hopefully it won't give us any problems with vibration and I won't have to come up with some kind of brace, because there's not really a good place to bolt a brace on. Well, I made sure I had clearance for the muffler when I planned this all out, but what I did not think about was the flapper, and thankfully it's gonna work. We get down around 4 inches, it's gonna be blowing a little bit of exhaust against this because the flapper is gonna have to be turned to the front, but it'll be okay. Won't hurt anything. Well, unfortunately I didn't get as much done on this project as I wanted to this past week, but maybe next week we can get this thing going, get it running. Everything is bolted down tight, and pretty much all we lack is wiring, but that's just going to take some time to get it all worked out. I appreciate you watching my videos. Really appreciate you watching to the end. That makes me look a lot better as far as how YouTube rates my videos. And yeah, I'll see you next week. Hopefully we'll get this thing cranked up and maybe saw some lumber.